You're listening to Mira Business Success.
Mira Business FM.
This is the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. Good morning to you. The global fashion industry next. It is to say it's gigantic and a powerhouse economy kind of underplays it really, but it is also an industry that leaves a massive environmental footprint and it produces close to 92 million tons of textile waste every year. It's an issue that people are searching for solutions for. Now, here in the Emirates, the focus is rapidly shifting away from the old take, make, waste model. And the UAE is launching a new initiative called Nasij, which is a way of turning the textile industry into a circular economy model. So it's a recycling plus model, I think is the best way to describe it. Kashesh Bhatia is the founder. She's the creative director of Kashesh Global. And has just been bestowed with a unique honor, which is becoming the first fashion house permitted to incorporate the words of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum into garments, transforming fashion into wearable literature, inspired by His Highness's vision. Did I get that right, Kashesh? Is that basically what it is?
Yes, absolutely.
Welcome to the show. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
It's a unique distinction. I have to say this. It really is. First fashion house. You can weave words into your collections in the future. His Highness's words. It's an honor, but it's a responsibility as well, isn't it? So what does it mean to you?
So honestly, receiving this permission, yes, it was an emotional and meaning. But along with that, as you said, it was about the honor and the responsibility.
Yeah.
You're just not using words. And at the same time, I wanted to not use words just as a decoration. Words have feelings, emotion, rhythm. And when you wear it with intention, it's not only about sustainability or how you're wearing it, but it changes how you become with your identity. So you're not just wearing something to impress, you're wearing something to express of who you are.
I'm with you. I think if for anybody watching or listening to this who doesn't realise that His Highness has written a number of poetic works, and there are a number of books, of course, as well. So that does make some sense. But how do you conceptually translate his vision for future leadership poetry, whatever it is, into physical, sustainable garments? And how do you select the quotes as well? That's another question.
So these quotes are from the book Flashes of Wisdom.
Right.
And it was not something that we initially started with that thought. Once, when I was researching about this new collection and the evolution of Kashesh Global, I wanted to first bring the same emotion, thought, craftsmanship to what we wear on everyday basis.
Okay.
In my entire career, like in India, I was working for 12 to 13 years for wedding and couture outfits. And I realized we invest so much of emotional meaning when it comes to weddings and occasional wear. But we are equally not thoughtful about what we are wearing on everyday basis.
Oh, that's so true.
And specifically crafts. I feel that if we really would like to take crafts forward, it's not just preserving in the museum or just for specific occasion. It has to be a part of every day. That was the bringing of how I can bring the identity and the culture and the crafts together.
Okay.
And then when I was reading about his biography and how Dubai has come, what we see, it was not a possibility, but it was somebody's vision. And that vision, that identity, that leadership, that wisdom, that poetry, when it comes together, I was like, this is something I would like to have. It seemed like a very far-fetched dream for me because it's just not, you can just write his words. You have to go through the process of it regarding the permission because it's somebody's words. That really, I think it was an emotional, meaningful moment. And at the same time, lot with the responsibility with that.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? You've got to make sure that the design language that you use respects, and I suppose as well, you've got to kind of elevate the prose.
Yeah.
As well. That is pretty tough.
So, it was interesting that, yes, we wanted to bring the vision of his words, but along with that, we wanted to bring something more. Like in our entire collection, along with his words, we have enhanced from his words itself the words like dream, world, which is impossible dream. So, one of his quotes is, the race of excellence has no finish line. So in that particular garment, we actually enhance the word excellence. So what's your story with the excellence? And every wearer, everybody would have a different perspective on that word. So the way you embody it, the way you identify it, it just, I like my entire ethos is that how I can bring the emotional connection and pass something as a legacy which we are wearing on everyday basis.
I wrote a load of questions for you last night because there's a lot to talk about with you, and I kind of tried to weave a narrative, and I was trying to weave it in with weaving, and then I thought, oh, this is really corny, this doesn't work, so I've left that to one side. But I am interested in how do you where do you weave the words in? How do they appear in the fabrics, in the clothes? How does that all work?
So most of the time, clothes, the words are either in inside linings, which touches your skin.
Okay.
Like I truly believe clothes are your second skin.
I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that's the truth. Let's face it.
And we teach kids about good touch, bad touch. We never teach them about the good fabric or bad fabric because that is touching your skin.
Fair, yeah. No, when I was at school, when I was a kid, I had to wear a suit that was made of tweed, and it itched. And when it rained, it was like walking in a diving bell. It was so. No, I'm with you. Yeah. But that's kind of important, I suppose.
And if you look at it, when a child is born, you will never see a parent just not being conscious about how they wrap the child. We will look at the organic clothes, we will look at cotton or something which soothes the skin, which is comfortable on the skin. But as we grow, we are actually trained to so much just look on the aesthetic side that we forget that luxury means comfortable. Luxury means which is you. Fashion is identity. And we slowly have trained ourselves to look fashion only as aesthetic and appearance. It was not like that 50 years back.
No, I'm with you. We cuddle babies, and you want to make them comfortable. So it's more. There's almost an innateness there, I suppose, isn't there? That how clothes feel, how comfortable they are. One of the issues with clothes is sustainability as well. I wanted to talk to you about that as well, because this is a very important part of the initiative, and we'll come to that in a minute or two. Sustainability, though, isn't just environmental. It's also, there's a cultural aspect, I think, to it. How does embedding regional identity and, I suppose, literature into your garments ensure that fashion keeps that kind of long-term, that kind of historical, emotional value? Because you don't want these things to be throwaway, do you?
Yeah, no. So I wanted to bring in the emotion, like fashion, to become more of an emotional and the cultural medium.
Yeah.
Again, not only through our traditional outfits, but craft has to evolve with our modern lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, like nowadays, people a lot talk about, with the innovation happening, with the technology coming in, will craft lose its essence? It's not about losing its essence, it's about evolving with it, which I feel is the most important aspect.
Okay, so something that we want to keep. So this is certainly not anything to do with fast fashion. How have local and I suppose international clients, you're from India, you've worked internationally, how are people reacting to wearing garments that are kind of, there's a sense of national pride, there's some literature in here. Well, what are people saying to you?
People are still getting used to this new norm of that, how I can preserve what I'm wearing every day as something which is legacy, which can be passed down. Because normally, we have got trained with that something which is legacy or emotional has to be like that. Maybe something attached emotionally, maybe attached to your wedding, maybe attached to some important thing. How you are wearing something on everyday basis can be part of a bigger picture. But I think there is gradually a shift happening where people are more intentional about, is it emotionally connecting with them? Are they wearing something for their identity? Are they wearing something which is collectible fashion? Or they are just wearing something which is more of impressing? It's more about expressing through what you're wearing.
Okay, and is there a sense that people want something that is ethically sourced? Is that a demand now?
I think, we have left luxury, sustainability, ethical, like all in different rooms. It's about bringing this together. Okay. People still think that sustainability is something which is more for maybe athleisure, or maybe something which is just left for charity or donation. But there is something so much more which, like initiative like Nasij, is important, because circular in fashion, what you were thinking as a discarded fabric or a waste is given a new life. Like even in our collection, our concept and everything happened in Dubai, but the production happened because in today's time, hardly any fabric is upcycled on heirloom. In our collection, it's one-of-a-kind pieces where every fabric takes year time to just make it, because everything is done with the hand.
It's kind of bold new kind of baseline, isn't it, this initiative? How monumental do you think this is or could be?
I think it's a big shift, because till now, especially here in the region, circular fashion was just taken as a niche conversation. But now the steps are taken to make that as an important part of your national vision and the infrastructure. And region has always been known for innovation, right? Yeah. And bringing that similar mindset in a fashion is a huge step towards it. UAE is already known for the retail and the luxury hub. But now including this circular fashion, which is not only about are we reducing waste, but it is entirely about creating a new ecosystem where the jobs can be created, the investments can be coming in, the economic value. So it's entirely creating a new industry in its own.
That's what's interesting about this, I think. It shines a light on an industry that, I mean, if I'm absolutely honest with you, circular fashion, I heard of a couple of years ago, and I think at that point I thought, that's like it's like a print of circles on a T-shirt. I had no idea what it was. The thing with it is, okay, so this is coming. Circular fashion it makes a lot of sense as part of the circular economy, i.e., we're reusing things and making sure we recycle and reduce and all of that stuff. But turning textile waste into circular economy isn't cheap. It needs, supply chains need to be sophisticated. You need to have segregation technology for the textiles. You need people to buy into the concept as well as consumers. How does this initiative kind of help local fashion houses scale up how they approach sustainability, the efforts they make, without compromising margins? Because it isn't cheap to do. Yeah. Is it?
So it's, there is a myth that sustainability cannot be profitable. But then it's, even the definition and the meaning of profitability is evolving. Okay. And it's not about producing more, it's about producing smarter, producing with meaning, producing which is more personalized. And with the entire circular fashion, it's evolving, and it will give rise to a lot of industry sectors which was not there. Like, reuse, repair, innovation, the textile hubs. Because if you look at UAE as a region, it's more of a consumer powerhouse.
For sure.
It's not a manufacturing giant. And bringing this circular thing can really uplift and create a market where we are bringing job opportunities, where people are becoming more conscious about how we are doing it. And at the same time, it is important to encourage consumer awareness about it.
Is there a feeling in the luxury sector? It's a sector you know far better than I do. Is there a feeling do you feel under pressure to rethink waste and to really examine production? Is that something that's kind of front of mind?
Definitely. Like, I think we keep hearing about like overproduction, dead stock. We normally think about fashion waste as only an environmental problem. And you're like, what I have to do with it? So it's technically not only generating an industry or a new industry, it is also about a huge mindset shift. If you only consider UAE, there is 500 million textile pieces consumed yearly, and 90% of which goes to landfill.
Yeah.
So the moment we throw away from the house, we are like, we are not really worried about it, but it is impacting you. And then even sending, right now, UAE doesn't have that infrastructure. But bringing that infrastructure can become like a huge growth, because what we are considering as a waste will tomorrow turn into a new material, which will then turn into a new product and a new business.
I mean, aside from this, the Nasij initiative that we're talking about here, this kind of creation, or this is more of a kickstart for circular fashion economy here. How does this, the UAE or the region, compare to global markets when it comes to sustainable fashion?
I think we are still at a very early stage.
Well, that's my feeling.
Yeah, and really developing.
Right.
And at the same time, it gives the advantage as well, because other global markets have tried something and again done something and again redoing something. But UAE entering at this time can kickstart from a smarter moves from beginning as well. So rather than changing and retweeting the things, it can bring in these systems which are already evolved. And at the same time, like for designers like us, it is also the opportunity to think that how would we like to create our collections?
Okay. I mean, you mentioned this, that there is this kind of myth that sustainable fashion can't be profitable. There's also a myth that it can't be super luxurious as well. It's not the finest of fabrics because it's been used before. I mean, that we should put to one side. But you have to prove that, don't you? That circular design can command, a part of a premium market share as well. I mean, that's a hurdle you've got to overcome, I guess.
So circular fashion, is not only about reusing the old thing. It is also about how you're using it. Like if you look at upcycling, where we used the fabrics which was discarded and we gave a life to it by doing it on the heirloom. So it's not something which was used, but rather than it was supposed to be discarded and we are repurposing it. And there are various ways to it, like even repair. Like how many times from our wardrobe we actually repair something? If you look 20 years back or 30 years back, it was an important, it was a skill, or it was just a hobby. Now we don't even do that. It is easy to replace.
Do you know, I'm thinking of a specific instance. I grew up with, my mother was a really top class sewer. She used to sew everything.
Yes,
and it was so useful because I didn't have to go to a tailor to get trousers taken up or whatever. And she was always able to do it really fast. She doesn't do it so much now. But it's a skill that I didn't pick up. And I have to drive out to find, so I'm so with you on that. But that's a shame because that's a skill lost.
Yeah, so we evolved, we gradually learned this, right?
Yeah.
We learned to speed. We learned about the fasting. We learned about the appearances. It was not something back then. And it is not something I'm talking about few years back I'm talking about, 10, 15 years, 20 years back. I remember when I was growing up, it was not that something I can buy anytime I wish. We used to wait for an occasion or something important and something rewarding. So we had an emotional connection with what we are wearing.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I hear phrases like that and I think, do we? And then I realize that you're right, because there are certain things that you put on, certain pieces that you like, or certain, I don't know, I've got a T-shirt on today that for some reason I really like. I don't know. and there's nothing expensive about it. But there must be a connection in some way to it, is what I'm saying.
You know, people talk about sustainability from the purpose of whether it is cheap or expensive, but it is not about that. You may buy, but if you're emotionally connected with it, you will not, even if you're tomorrow not wearing it, you will be thoughtful about how it gets the second life. Or you will just not throw it like that. So, we just look at sustainability from maybe organic clothes or the meaning, but even the meaning and the emotions are there. Either from the pressure today, even in fashion today, even if we call it fast, has an emotion to it. But it's from the pressure, from making it right.
How do you balance? One of the things about you is how you come alive when you're talking about what you do in the creative process. But how do you balance your obvious creative side with the necessities of what you have to have from a business perspective? How do those? Because that's almost like two people.
Yes,
isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that happen for you?
So I think Dubai itself gave me that place to think not only as a fashion designer or a fashion entrepreneur, but also the fashion forward thinker.
Okay.
And it is about that if you're building something which is not for today, and especially for design industry and the fashion houses today, if you're not creating something only for today, you're building not only today, but tomorrow, where you're bringing the emotion aspect to it, where you're bringing the crafts together, where you're bringing artisan collaborations together, and there is the market for it. It's like we took time to even understand the fashion, what we are wearing today. In the same time, people are getting intentional about what they are wearing and how they are wearing it. And if you look at wedding and couture industry on its own, do we just buy it because we have to, or we are investing our time?
That's a good point. I mean, from my point of view, I didn't do so well with the investing of time. I just kind of pulled the suit and went, I'll do that. But from my wife's point of view, very different.
So it's not that we don't know that.
True.
But we are choosing and being selective about how we are doing it, because most of the time, especially women, will open the wardrobe and would be like, oh, I have nothing to wear. Is it you have nothing to wear?
Faraj and I are laughing. That's a familiar experience.
It's not about they have nothing to wear, but nothing is evolving with their identity.
Yeah.
So it's the same time and emotional connection is not there. That's why it is disconnected.
It's so interesting that because it's clearly so much more important than most of us would kind of give credit to or give credence to, I suppose. We're over time, unfortunately. I've just been kind of going along with you, but I wanted to ask you one thing, and I've literally got 20, 25 questions I wanted to get to, but hey, what else would you like to see happen in the UAE to support sustainable fashion? Because this is obviously going to be a focus for you for some time. It's important to you, the Nasij initiative. But what would you like to see happen to support sustainable fashion businesses here in the UAE? What would help the sector?
I think projects like Nasij is already starting with that steps, with bringing the things. But what is more important is bringing the collaboration with the government, educational institutes, with the private sectors and the individual designers as well.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's when they come together and then, projects about like sustainable manufacturing is being initiated, or, incentives are given for the circular fashion businesses. And the most important is investing even in the awareness of how, fashion people consume it. When all of that comes together, I think UAE has a potential of becoming a hub where innovation, sustainability, luxury can all coexist together. It's not separate, it is about coming together.
Kashish Bhatia is the founder, creative director of Kashish Global. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank
you for having me here.
You're very welcome. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more interviews like this from Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the morning drive. It is Mira Business FM. We're moving from fashion to employment, which, considering our next guest, probably a good thing to do. Not because of what you're wearing.
That was a bit savage. That's the opening remark.
That came out badly, didn't it? I know. I've got to work on these intros a bit.
It's a terrible.
And I understand that. No, I meant because you're like the HR god.
You were struggling there a bit
was.
as well.
I thought, shall I go straight there? Or David Mackenzie is the governor of Mackenzie Jones. There you are. Good to see you.
Good comeback. I like that.
Good to see you. How was he? We've not seen you for what, two weeks?
Yeah,
He said
well,
looking at his
I
watch.
went back to see, I had a bit of an emergency with my mum, went back to see my mum, but I saw my two boys, which is brilliant, the
is
Marine
great.
and the guy at Porsche we were talking about. So it's lovely. I miss them a lot, and they're 26 and 24, so whoever has kids at like 3 or 4 are struggling with taking them to school, getting up, and they're sapping the energy out of your world. Believe me, you will in the years to come. You'll look back on those days and look at it with sweetness and light and love.
There's a perverse nature to children. They bleed your very soul, and then when they go, you're like, please come back and keep doing it.
I keep saying, one of my eldest boys said, I think you've got attachment issues. Then what do you mean? He goes, you want to be with us all the time, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I really miss you. And they were like, we love that, Dad. But
The but's coming, isn't it? I know. Well, look, it's nice to see you.
Yes,
The other thing I notice is you're hiring.
we're hiring a lot. Now, there's a strategy behind this.
Okay.
So the market at the moment is bad. I've got to be honest with you. It's down by, let's say conservatively, 30%, maybe 40%.
Okay.
Our RPA business is doing a lot better. My view, and I've been here a long time, and in fact, my colleague Jazz has written an article about this, about the steps the UAE's been through in the last 20 years. The UAE has one constant thing. It always bounces back.
Yeah.
And we're anticipating the bounce back. So we think this year is going to be a fairly flat year. And we're maintaining our relationships with candidates and clients and just making sure we're there for them, helping them through things. But we reckon Q4, Q1 next year, there's going to be a bounce back. So we're gearing up our company for that. Now, you could say that's eternally optimistic, but I've been here 20 years, same as you. We've been here a long time. We've seen the bounce backs, and it's going to happen again.
All the indicators point towards that. When is obviously the question, but almost everybody that comes in here. In fact, I think to a man, to a woman, I'm just waiting for the bounce back. That seems to be the attitude.
I think
generally.
I don't know whether that's where we're just because we're in the Middle East. We have that mindset of optimism, whereas I think in the UK at the moment, there's
not a lot of optimism around. No,
it's a very different mindset, isn't there?
We talked about this a lot recently. It's this kind of can-do attitude here, and there's something about, I don't know, there's something about the fact that if you want to do it, give it a go, why not? And that attitude doesn't prevail in lots of other countries.
Yeah, we sort of, do you remember the American mindset used to be can do, just got to go and do it, and the UK one used to be a bit cynical. I think in the Middle East we've got it right. There's a bit of both there.
Probably the best way to do it, yeah. But the British one is always no, that won't work. Rather than, it might. It's not, no, don't bother.
Just try it. Just have a go.
Have some tea, enjoy a biscuit. That's our attitude. Oh, dear. Two old English men talking nonsense.
Well, actually, I'm Scottish, but...
Sorry about that. I got that badly wrong.
As you well...
Scottish
your wife
wife
is
as well.
Scottish.
I know. Yeah, well, I'll get it in the neck from both sides. It's perfectly normal. Before this becomes toxic,
Absolutely.
you sent me an article this week, and it was about toxic managers, and I think it's timely, if nothing else. But it's so important at the moment because often when there is more stress, there's uncertainty around, toxicity kind of reigns, and that's a thing that we see a lot. So I thought what we could do is toxic managers, what to look for, how to deal with them in the first half, and then. With part 2, we could look at a few real-life toxic manager stories, hopefully with some resolutions as well. So here's the story that you sent.
This is the lady in the BBC, wasn't it?
This was a BBC article, and I think she'd just seen the movie Send Help, which is the desert island thing, two people that work together. Rachel, what's her name? McAdams. They work together and they have to work out not only the fact that they're on a desert island, they need to survive, but they've got to work out the tension between them.
Yep.
But it's really interesting because the headline is your boss toxic? This is how to handle them. So that's great. My first point that I would put forward to you is something that we've all heard. People don't leave companies, people leave managers.
Spot on.
That's where it starts, isn't it? And that's a problem. So Rachel McAdams is at the premiere of the movie. She plays the hard done by employee. She's experienced different workplaces in her way to success, and she remembered a particularly bad boss at a summer job. This was in the article. I just quit. My advice would be to quietly quit if you can, and if not, try and practice some Zen. It's reasonable advice, but it's not that easy.
No, and also, when we talk about toxic managers, a bad manager and a toxic manager are very different things. Because
there's a distinction to make.
So and I'm trying to remember exactly what. So a toxic manager is somebody who pretty much lacks empathy. Is somebody that really has no self-awareness. Now you obviously get bad managers who basically are promoted into roles because of their good billing, their good target hitting, whatever, but not because of their leadership skills. So theirs is not intent. It's just down to lack of guidance, lack of training, lack of development, lack of understanding. So when I meet people and I say, I hate my boss, and I go, tell me why you hate your boss. Well, he doesn't listen to me. Well, that isn't a toxic manager. He's never praised me in a meeting. Well, why hasn't he? You've got to understand why your boss is toxic. Yeah. The common, I think you've got the list there of why people are, when they are toxic and what they do. So you've got to make sure that, I hear this so many times, the culture's toxic. And what typically happens is not the culture, it's an individual. And there are ways of approaching and sort of trying to understand why that person is doing those things.
Well, classically, and this is from the article, and there are other traits, I suppose, but here are 5 things. Someone who sets impossibly high standards is one, often a trait of a toxic boss.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessary. Yes, sorry, I'm interrupting.
Impossibly high standards, I think that's the point. High standards, but impossibly high standards. Standards that you really can't ever get to attain, is the point. Publicly berates staff who don't meet them. Actively undermines their team. That's, I guess, maybe the big one. Takes credit for other people's work.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw your face there when I said that. That's, and often rules by fear.
That's probably the biggest one in this region, actually.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Right. Because we've got hundreds of different nationalities, some nationalities have a sort of almost a God complex where their view is, as they get more senior, they're then in control.
Okay.
And that manifests itself as, you do what I tell you to do.
Okay.
And
don't ask me why.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't question me.
Right.
So I think all those points are absolutely right. I think the issue we're facing in this current market is that bosses are under pressure and companies are under pressure to hit their targets. And sometimes you get very good managers that are in a situation where they don't know what to do because they're under so much pressure from the senior management team, whatever. The way they react is wrong and is bad. And that's because they haven't been trained properly. They don't know how to control their emotions. They don't know how to open up to help their teams help them hit those targets. So you've got to almost be quite a strong character to be able to open up to somebody and say, look, the team's doing badly. I genuinely don't know what to do, guys. Can you help me?
That's true. I think there's also an element of immaturity, isn't there? I think people,
especially here,
people are promoted maybe ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it the other day. Well, I mean, the problem is titles here are ridiculous. You know, I know in my industry we've got people who've got less than 5 years' experience who are associate directors in recruitment companies, and I'm like, what does that mean? Associate means they have no responsibility, no people. They're just a director by title.
Okay.
So. And then you look at somebody like some of my guys who are senior consultants, they've got 10 years experience and they are senior consultants, but they don't manage people. And then we have managing consultants who manage people. So we have a very open policy of promotion, etc.
But I mean, you're slightly different though, in that you're an MD.
I am.
CEO kind of
Not
type, but
a
you don't
CEO,
like. I know you
no.
don't. You don't. You're not that.
CEOs of big companies. I run a small recruitment company of
No, I know.
40 odd people. So
No, but my point is, you're not that worried about titles. You're not there for the big title, and I think a lot of people. Title means something to a lot of people.
it does.
You know.
But when you get, you've got to understand as you go throughout your career, people tend to focus on the title rather than what the job does.
True.
And I think people here fall into that trap. I've never met so many managing directors and chief execs of companies of one or two, and I'm like, well, how do you merit that job title? What does your job do? So going back to my previous years when I first became a manager, I was that first manager. I don't think I was very good at all. I don't think I was trained properly. I don't think I was told what to do. I messed it up so badly.
So, okay, so were you ever at a point where you felt as though this wasn't for you?
No, I felt frustrated, and I took that frustration out on my consultants. Bear in mind, I was a director at 27 at Michael Page, way too young. And actually, Page were really good at. But my epiphany came when I went to Monster. The chief exec of Monster, a guy called Chris Hermanson, took me on as the MD of part of the group, and I was 28 years old. And he said to me, "Look, you've got a lot to learn, but I'm going to leave you alone for 6 months. Crack on with it." And I came back after 6 months. I said, "I'm not doing this well. I'm really not. I'm not coping. What do I do?" And he goes, "Forget what you've been taught. Go with your gut feeling. Think about the people you're working with. Think about how you can motivate them and how you can drive them." And then the next 6 to 12 months were completely different. I suddenly realized that you have people there that can help you. You can talk to people. You can understand. And I worried about not performing when actually my team were there to help me perform.
You're describing a non-toxic environment at the moment.
Yeah, my boss was great. And look, do I think that, and this is being very open, whether I have it right in Mackenzie Jones, hopefully I have. I've got a good, my people stay a long time. I'm hoping they think I'm a good boss, but my philosophy has always been that you've got to listen to people, you've got to understand what they're doing, but you've also got to give very strong leadership.
Yeah.
You've got to explain what the company's trying to do, where we're at, are we doing well, are we doing badly, this is how we're going to get out of it, this is what we need from you. I'm very open.
You've got to set an example.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah. Even if it is tough,
yes,
you've got to set that example and be honest if it's
we are super honest. We're one of the few recruitment companies. We tell people our figures, how we're doing. If people are leaving, these are the reasons why. If we're hiring, these are the reasons why. We're very open about stuff like that because you need to be, because you've got to let people understand and make decisions for themselves. If they don't want to be in your company because they don't like it, that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. It's just maybe we're not the right company for them.
Well, that's an interesting point about, let's get back to toxic management. Sorry, we were miles off topic there, but...
How unusual.
I know. How to tell if you have a toxic manager or if it's just a personality clash.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now this is part of this. I mean, toxic managers, you could maybe encapsulate it in this phrase: behaviour that strays way beyond performance management into personal attacks.
Yes.
That's a classic toxic manager trait. Let me give you an example. I was reading this is in the article online that you sent me.
Yeah.
A colleague said she'd hired a personal trainer ahead of her wedding. Her boss left a photo of a fat bride on her desk.
I mean, and what?
That's
terrible.
It's just so. It's ultimately so pointless, but exactly, really petty. But it's a great example of a really very toxic thing to do. How would you feel? What's the motivation?
I'm not sure why she would do that. It doesn't make sense unless it's to berate somebody or make somebody feel little.
Who knows?
Or the irony of that, not little.
Well, exactly. How to tell if you have a toxic manager or is it just a personality clash? And you kind of pointed to this earlier on. 1 in 3 people have left a job because of a toxic workplace, and generally that's a manager, that's a character, research suggests. But not everybody's toxic, and there is a difference there, isn't it? You've called out some of these things. The accidental manager category is one thing, where people are promoted because they're really good, but have no idea how to lead.
Happens a lot in the Middle East.
Okay, so technical skills and people
Great
skills.
performer, sold the most,
Yeah.
done the most clients. You know, they're the king of the company because they build well,
Yeah.
but they can't manage for toffee.
Yeah. Poor behavior, usually driven by experience or uncertainty, not intent in
Yes.
those cases. So and it's understanding the difference between, that's not toxicity, that's just
Yeah,
can't really do it.
and I think some managers they don't know what to do. So the way they act is what they think they should do, and it's because they've seen previous managers do it or whatever. There's quite a few businesses we don't work with because of their culture, because of the toxicity of their culture, and it's driven by individuals in the business. It's not the business; it's the people.
So what's the impact of a toxic boss? What can happen? I mean, ultimately, I suppose it can lead to people leaving, or poor performance, or underperformance, or mental health issues, people taking too many sick days. It's incredibly detrimental to a business.
I think it's one of the biggest factors of a business failing. Is because they cannot attract good people because of the reputation of being a toxic organisation. So the only way to do that, so example, if we have a consultant in our business, and we've had this before, who's the highest performing consultant, yet they're a toxic individual and they're creating problems in our business, we will exit that individual. After conversations and discussions with them, it's not a quick thing. We have to understand why they're doing it, give them guidance, give them help. But if they don't listen and they don't change, ultimately that person's going to leave, which will affect our bottom line. But I guarantee, and it's happened a few times, it bounces back very quickly because people suddenly feel much more comfortable being in the business.
Okay, so if you get up on Monday morning and you feel there are butterflies in the stomach or a knot in your stomach going in, or you kind of duck into the copier.
Side entrance.
Is there still a copier room?
I don't think there is.
Don't think they exist anymore. You duck into the.
It's a booth. It's a Teams booth now.
Or you duck into the Teams booth because you see somebody coming, you see the manager coming, or you're at a point where you don't want to speak up in meetings because is that toxicity, or is that personality clash?
It can be It can be both. That's the problem. Is you can blame a manager for your own inadequacies. I don't even get that word out today. Because if you don't want to speak up in a meeting, it's because you feel what you're going to say is going to be wrong. That could be you, or it could be the way it's reacted to in the office, and you'll know that because other people won't talk up. So
Right.
I think there are ways to deal with this. And one of the things, if you have what you perceive to be a toxic boss or somebody you're not getting on with, rather than ignore that, have a chat with them. Now, what you mustn't do is front them up in the office, front them up in a meeting, because if they're a strong individual, which they might be, they will shoot you down, and then that is the end of the relationship.
Well, they're the boss.
Absolutely, and there has to be a level of respect in the world, and I've noticed that changing quite a lot in the last probably 10 years, where there's a certain amount of entitlement coming through into the workplace at every level, and I think sometimes that manifests itself into people almost being rude to their boss because they think, I'm entitled, I can do whatever I want, and you have to be very careful of that. So, if you have a toxic manager or you have a boss you're not getting on well with, take him aside and say, look, I'm struggling to work with you. And I need to know what I can do to better our relationship. But give them examples. In this meeting, I suggested this and you shot me down. Can you explain why? Because I want to learn how to do it better next time. Again, it's not a personal attack on them. It's you trying to work your way through that relationship.
Okay. My first thought there is I love the idea of it. That takes some guts to do that. So some people are thinking, right, I'm going to do that. And other people are thinking, I could never do that because this person is just an ogre.
Yeah. And then it is a good point. And I think I look at it from my perspective where I'm a relatively
you're
extrovert. Yeah. But I've had a boss.
Contrary to the evidence, you're quite approachable.
Well, I am now, but it's taken me about 30 years to learn that. But genuinely, it took me a long time to learn how to understand business and understand people. I don't think I've got it right now. There's some things I do, and I reflect on some of the conversations I have with my team, and I go, I shouldn't have done that. So
But that's good because you're still learning.
True, and yeah, genuinely, I am. I'm very good at that. I'm still learning. I just wish I'd got it right about 10 years ago. But,
Isn't that all of us?
yeah, very true. Yeah. But the thing is, yeah, you're right. How do you deal with it if you are as an individual? So there are a couple of ways of going through this. So if you don't feel approaching your boss, which I understand that piece, if you're in a big company, there'll be an HR function, or if it's a small company, there'll be a peer.
Right. Right.
So
okay.
Let's talk about the peer bit. So if you're a small business, I think this lady talked about a PR agency, wasn't she, that she was in? And
yeah, it was, yeah.
The best thing to do is sit down with, so if you're my colleague, I'd say, look, Tim, can I have a chat with you? I'm really struggling with this. What's your thought? And you might go, well, actually, I feel the same way.
So this is somebody outside your sort of reporting line. That's what's important. This is somebody kind of divorced from that.
Yeah, or it could be the other bit is I've talked about this in the past about having mentors and who are outside your organization. Yeah. So if you can't do that, speak to a mentor or speak to a partner or speak to a friend and say, look, start with what we call a low-key approach first. Talk to your friends and go, look, I'm having a real problem at work. Can I give you a few scenarios that I've been through recently and what's your view? If they're a good friend, they'll go, actually, you're a bit sensitive on that, or, yeah, that's terrible. This is what I would have done. And then go through that, next time you have a meeting, try a different approach. And if it creates a different outcome, then you may have got it right. But the other bit, if once you've done the friend bit, if it's still proven to be an issue, you need to sit with HR. Now, let me explain what HR in a company is meant to do. Okay. HR is the bastion of sensible, respected thought processes for the internal health and wealth of the business. So HR there are the gatekeepers to make sure that the organization is still running as a company with the right people, with the right culture, with the right values, so that you can maintain a long-term career there and you can still attract good people.
So if they were a dish, they would be the meatloaf.
They would be the meatloaf and people would want to eat it.
Okay.
Again, a wrong analogy there for Raji. I don't know where I went with that one, but
I like that though. But this is the heart. This is the thing that everybody likes, or should.
So if
that's the point. Should it should be that way.
I recruit HR people, and if I look at most of my HR community, inherently they've gone into HR because they like working with people. They like process. They like procedure. They like making sure there's fairness in the workplace. There's a cultural significance to what they're doing. They like diversity, they like inclusion, all those things. So going back to the point, if you have a problem at work, one of the things you need to do is go to HR and say, and I use these words, I would like a confidential conversation with you. Okay. At that point, HR should not be able to talk to the boss about this situation because it's a confidential discussion.
You're putting a lot of trust in HR here. I mean, I don't know. That worries me a little bit.
So I deal with HR, and I have to say, I deal with HR leaders, etc. So if I look at the good ones in this region, you've got Joe from SMBC, you've got a lady called Kirsty who works for Bajormi. They are very good at what they do. And one of the things is that they're there to protect the employee, to make sure the employee has the right experience in the company. So they are almost a buffer in the organization when things are going wrong. You can go to talk to them and it is off the record. It's a confidential discussion.
Right.
Your boss should not know what you've had that conversation about. Now, I'm talking utopian situation here.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, most of the HR departments here that I know of and I deal with, I would trust them implicitly.
Okay.
But
that gives you a bit more confidence. But I'm looking at this thinking, HR people, in my experience in the past, they're friends with so and so. They're going to say something, and I'm
a good HR person should never divulge a conversation when it's treated in strictest honestly, generally here, the HR professions I deal with the multinationals, the local businesses. One of the mainstays of what they do is confidentiality. If you want to go and have a confidential conversation with them and you don't want it to go to your boss, you are able to do that. So when you have that conversation, you can say, look, I have this issue with this person. This is what's going on. How do I deal with it?
All right, so tell somebody or find a mentor, challenge the behavior by, if you can, if it's a possibility, by taking your boss to one side and saying, look, I'm struggling. How can I, better understand how to do this in a meeting, whatever it is. Use HR. Confide in HR if you feel that you can. There should be, I suppose, a proviso there.
Yeah, and I think if you don't feel confident, then you shouldn't do it. But
okay. So what happens if you don't feel, none of those things have worked or are working, and you don't feel confident in HR? What do you do then?
There's two very obvious things. One is you leave the company.
You quit.
The second thing is you build up a wall of...
To protect yourself?
Don't care. Just going to get on and do my job.
Right.
I'm going to build a wall saying, whatever they say to me, I'm just going to ignore it and carry on. But to me, I'm not like that as an individual. I can't do that. I have to feel, I like working, and I like working in a nice environment. One of the big things about my company is I love the culture of Mackenzie Jones, and that's built by the people that work there. So if you're in an environment where you've had to build a wall because the culture is so toxic that every day you go in, you almost just get on and do your job, and then you leave. How is that? How are you living your life?
Yeah, that's not worth getting out of bed for.
It's not worth doing. Honestly, life
money,
is too short. Yeah, believe me, we talked about the kid thing. My kids are now 27. I thought they were 3, and now they're 27. Where did that time go? But think about your work life. You have a very short time. You can see that look on my face. My kid's 6'5". He carries a machine gun.
I know, but you see that's
but
older parent thing, isn't it? Time does go quickly.
But work time goes super quickly.
Yeah,
whatever we are always chasing goals and targets in life, and you're 25 now or you're 30 now, and you think you've got years to work. You haven't. Life will speed up super quickly. You'll be under super pressure. What you have to do is you have to make sure every point in your life, there's a purpose to it, and there's an enjoyment factor to it. Let's face it, I don't enjoy my job every single day. And I mentioned this before, you have to be enjoying your job 70 to 80% of your time.
Yeah,
that to me is a good success.
I remember that stat. Yeah.
20% is, wake up feeling rubbish, boss has been nasty to me, client hates me, coffee machine work, and the loser brocked again. It's a UK thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. No, it's the coffee machine not working. That gets me more than anything.
Exactly. There's little things that can trigger you, bad commute, whatever. So going back to all of this, those are the two end results. You either leave the company and go elsewhere, or you just get on with it and suck it up. But I don't think that's a solution.
Okay. So that's... it's a pretty stark realisation, isn't it?
Yeah, and we come across it a lot. Part of the reasons I say to people, one of the things recruiters ask is, why are you looking to leave your job? And we usually get the answer, promotion, better prospects. I go, what is the real reason? I hate my boss. What have you done? Nothing. So why not? Do you like your job? I love my job. Do you like the company? Yes. Hate my boss. So you're leaving because of one individual. All equity you've built up, all that hard work you've done, the company you love, you're leaving because of one individual. So my suggestion is you tackle that first before looking for a new job.
That's a good point. And also understand whether it's a toxic environment that has been built by somebody, or if it's just, this is somebody you wouldn't get on with in the outside world anyway. So you have to find a way to make it work.
But let's face it, you don't socialize with your bosses particularly. It's not the way the world works. In many ways, I encourage you not to do that, because then you're crossing boundaries. So when something goes wrong in your social life, it goes wrong in your work life. So my view is you've got to be in a situation, you've got to be friendly with your boss and have a work relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a personal relationship. So watch those boundaries. Some people cross those boundaries way too quickly.
A lot of people do blur those lines, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There was something I read. I don't know where this was. I think it was a different article. And it directly relates to that. If you to reinforce boundaries at work, there's a really simple language shift that you can make. And it's 2 words. And you just replace 2 words with another 2 words. And it's this. Replace I can't with I don't. Because what I can't invites negotiation. I can't do that. Well, you could if you were it becomes all of a sudden
I don't.
What is it? Future perfect, doesn't it? You could if you were to do, etc. And people might try and convince you that you actually can do something when you say you can't. But if you say, I don't do that, that's a decision that you've made that you, in theory, there's a line you don't cross. I don't know, I read that somewhere. I don't know why I made
that's a very good one, actually. I've not heard that one before. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It kind of does, yeah.
But I think that the whole workplace relationship thing is really interesting. This is probably another subject, actually, because I think the reason why people fall out with their bosses sometimes is they get too friendly with them, and there's a dynamic shift where something they do or something you do, suddenly the relationship fractures a bit, and then it becomes a relationship where you can't fix it, and that's why people do leave. So my view is whenever you're in a workplace environment, be friendly with your boss, but keep some of yourself to yourself. Because if you share too much, as the millennial culture does, overly sharing, then you're at risk of things potentially in your personal life affecting your work life.
That makes sense. Yeah, and you have to get to a point, don't you, when you're mature enough to understand the boundaries.
Yeah.
Like on this, for example, Michael, who you know, who's the producer of this show, when he joined, I said to him, "You're the boss. Just tell me what to do." But there's this perception that if you present a program, you're the boss of the program.
Oh, I thought you were. I'm going to give him a lot more kudos now.
I'm the boss of nothing in my life, as you well know. Wife and 2 kids. Where do I exist? I'm just in the ether. But it makes sense because, I'm concentrating on this and everything else behind the scenes. He makes the decision. It's very collaborative, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, he's the boss because he's out booking guests. He's talking to people all the time, making sure people are around on time, coming up with ideas, maybe setting themes, all of that stuff. But you've got to get to a point where those boundaries they're clearly defined, I think. And that's
I think the problem with here in the Middle East, because we're a very sociable culture, those boundaries often get blurred here. And I think that's when issues do arise. And I think if you've got a boss that's toxic, I don't think everyone is toxic. I think some people are just misunderstood because they don't know what to do. So a lot of people I've had consultants in the past that I've just thought, this person's no good, they can't do it. I keep telling them to do the right thing. And I suddenly realize I'm telling them to do something rather than saying, what would you do in this situation? How would you do this? And we've got very different nationalities in our business as well. Each of them have to be handled slightly differently.
But people do things in different ways. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The Indian culture is very different to the Pakistani culture, to the South African culture, to the European culture. But one thing I think there has to be a common theme is in the workplace, there has to be an ability for everyone to have a voice. And that's not a big PC thing about, you've always got to be able to talk. It's not. You want people to come up with ideas. You want people to come up with better ways of doing things. And unless you create an environment where people feel comfortable doing that, your business will not grow.
We don't know where the next big idea is going to come from, do you?
It's not going to come from me, I can assure you.
So confident in your business plan.
I'm a one-trick pony. I'm a recruiter. That's all I can do. I'm really good at it. I really love it, and I think that's my future.
You're a one-trick warhorse, and you well know it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just a reminder: this full interview, for some reason, is going to be posted to our LinkedIn page,
and mine,
and yours, and YouTube as well, and the website. So those are some elements of toxic management. There's no cure-all solution to this.
No.
That's the point. It's a discussion point, and there are ways that maybe you can deal with it. But what I wanted to do was just get to a few common sort of toxic manager stories. And these are from a number of different places online. All names have been removed to protect the innocent. Exactly. So real-world workplace experiences that highlight some of the patterns. And here's one, the credit stealer. Professional realised their manager was taking credit for their project presentations. When they confronted the manager calmly in a one-on-one, as you have advised, the manager deflected and not unexpectedly. The situation was only resolved when the employees started sending regular documented project updates to upper management, circumventing the boss. And this was something I wanted to bring up, the idea that part of protecting yourself in an organization is documentation and doing
emails,
that with
updates.
zeal and
just be slightly careful about that, because when you've confronted your boss and they've deflected, absolutely the right course of action. But if your boss hasn't done that and you haven't approached him, then you start sending upper management emails, your boss can go, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a specific instance. But I mean, it highlights as well that it's a good idea. And I think there's a real culture now of us just sending like a quick message or a voice note. And I just don't think that's good enough to document. If you're going to document something professionally in an organization, shouldn't it be emailed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think legally voice notes or WhatsApps are covered, are they?
WhatsApps, I think, legally can be argued. Whether voice notes can, I don't know. But I know that WhatsApps can be used as part of evidence.
What about LinkedIn stories?
In a legal situation.
Insta stories.
Let's hope not, I suppose. But I just think it's kind of important to do that. And there are times when you kind of I don't know, I go for it and I kind of document a little bit too much. But I think in the long run, if it's important, it's probably a good thing to do.
More if if you doing that, make it brief. Paragraph, this is what's happening, this is what we're doing, this is where we're at.
Right.
Status update is probably the best way of doing it.
Okay. So that's one, the credit stealer. The bully is another one. And this is, I guess, something you've seen before in workplaces, bullies?
Yeah. And yes.
Normally, the way with the bully is to front up and take the bully on, but in a workplace, it's obviously a different situation to the playground.
But you need to understand why the bully's doing it, and it may be
normally a cry for help.
Yes,
it is.
Joking aside, I think half the time it's because the person is either under pressure, doesn't know what they're doing, or just frustrated. And the best way of doing that is to sit down with them and go, "Look, how can I help you? What can I do to make this better? How can I make us make better numbers? How can I make my division do better? What can I do to help you?" And you might find they go, "God, look, thank God I can speak to you about this. I'm really struggling." It might be that, or they might go, "Well, just get on with your work and do what you want." Then you have to think of different ways of doing it. I mean, a bully ultimately will always be found out. They always are. Because if you keep doing it and people keep leaving, at some point that's going to trigger with HR or the chief exec going, "Why are we losing so many people from that division? What's going on?" An internal review, exit interviews that HR do, where people will start saying these things, etc.
I mean, the example here, and this is just one example, an employee routinely yelled at, unfairly blamed for department-wide delays. The shouting continued until the employees started keeping a private log on their phone with dates, times, and exactly what was said. I mean, that's when it's got to a fairly extreme point.
I know, but that's, again, that... We talked about, you want to be at work and enjoy yourself. If you're spending every day logging your... Bosses should never shout at you, let's be honest with you. If a boss ever shouted at me, that would be an issue. None of my bosses have ever shouted at me, because believe me, if they did, I probably would react slightly differently.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of this. I've heard of people, shouting and throwing and stuff like that, but I haven't heard of it in a professional environment here. It's more about psychological bullying here. I think it's more about, undervaluing people, underwhelming them in terms of, what they should be doing and making them feel bad. I think, and it's that passive aggressive side here. I don't think it's more the physicality of it. But I could be wrong.
There are lots of nuances to this,
yes.
Obviously. Here's one that I think I find this really hard to deal with, because I have this... I think it's pretty simple. If somebody says, "I would like you to join my company," or "I'd like you to come and work for me," they've told you that because they want you to fulfill a role. So you need to do that. You need to be able to
Perform,
and perform, right? Micromanagement drives me insane. So here's the example. A worker at a prestigious brand experienced 12-hour days and was reprimanded as irresponsible for taking 5 minutes to grab a lunch break. So obviously very busy organization. Exhausted, they ultimately had to distance themselves, stay surface level, and use their energy to find a new job. And it was all because everything they did was being over-examined by an overzealous manager.
Yeah, but if you look at it less extreme case, it could be time management. It could be how many coffee breaks you have and stuff like that. Yeah, there are those examples. And I don't know, there's a bit of a trend in the Middle East with these thumb, you log in with your thumb, onto the buildings.
Yeah.
I think those are terrible. Why would you do that? Do you not trust people to come in on time? So
it's the old clock in thing, isn't it?
Well, I have a guy, right? There's a guy who works in my business. He's always late.
Right.
He's great. I really like him. He's a very good worker, but he's just always late. So my view is, rather than just berate him, I sat him and I said, "Why are you always late?" "Well, I can't get up on time." "Okay, there's 40 people in this company. They're all on time." Well, I'm not that late. Well,
I love that.
one minute late.
It's only like 10 minutes late.
So 1 minute late or 4 hours late. It's the same thing. You're still late.
You're late.
So basically, I've said to him, "Look, just get up half an hour earlier and do that." And the more I chat with him, I try to make him understand the reasons why we have timekeeping. And I'm very much a timekeeper, and I work longer hours than most people here. I expect people at 5:30 to everyone to leave. And by the way, I looked up yesterday, everyone had gone. Apart from one guy wanted to play pool with me. That's not an issue, because everyone says goodbye. And I love that, because people say goodbye even though I'm still working, which means they're very comfortable at leaving at 5:30.
Right.
Which I think is the right thing to do, because they've got families and they've got gym stuff and they've got...
I just want to backtrack for a minute. One guy was there and he wanted to play pool with you.
I have a pool table in my
Pool
office.
table in the office? That's so good.
He's like, "Yeah, fine." One of my banking guys said, they'd all left, and he looked up and I said, "You all right? Why are you waiting?" And he said, "Oh, do you fancy a game of pool?" I went, "Yep."
Pool's a great game to have a conversation around as well, but it's a great sort of corporate game, because it's not golf where you're with somebody for 4 hours. That can be a bit much. It's 10 minutes.
He wanted to have a chat about something in banking. That was his way of capturing me without sitting in a meeting room. It was a really nice way of doing it, actually. And I kicked his ass, obviously.
You turned into Tom Cruise or Paul Newman, didn't you? You just hustled him.
I did. I couldn't lose. I did that with my kids when we used to go go-karting. I never let them win when they were like younger. And then when we got to about 15, they basically were on the grid.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle. One's at the front, one's at the back. And they went out. Deliberately, the younger one slowed down. The other one overtook me, and then they boxed me in.
Clever.
I couldn't get past them.
Clever.
And they were like, "Oh, Dad, you let us win." I went, "Mate, I can guarantee I didn't. I've never won anything since with them."
That's so great. No wonder you miss them.
I do. I really do.
All right. So if you're dealing with a difficult manager, I wanted to finish here.
Yeah.
We've got a few minutes. How to resolve issues and protect yourself. Actionable strategies, right?
Yep.
Document stuff.
Yes.
And I wanted to go back to that, because I think that's important. So if you're having to log stuff, clearly there's an issue, and I know there's that side of it. Why you're doing the job in the first place. But save emails, performance reviews, meeting agendas, have a verbal discussion if you can, as you've said, follow up with an email, but the documentation is important.
And also talk to HR. I mean, I know you're slightly cynical, but I recruit in HR, and I've seen the caliber of HR director and HR manager, and they're really good. So I'm a firm believer that you should talk to HR.
I want to be a believer. I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, I'm thinking there will be people listening to this thinking, I couldn't talk to HR about this because they're friends with some, and then that's a different thing.
But on that point, and sorry to interrupt, even if they're friends, the HR code of contact means they should not, and they will not be able to discuss with their friend in the cafe about what you've had a discussion with. If they do, they are negligent in their job.
Sure, that should be the case. Okay,
yes,
that's fair. Here's another side to this as well. If you're able to do this is not so easy, but if you're able to set boundaries and you're able to stay calm, toxic managers, bullies, in a similar way, often feed off they're looking for a reaction. They're trying to get a rise from you. Yeah. So if you can just be, okay, here are the facts, and keep it really professional.
Yep.
You don't offer the rise.
No.
That's a great. I mean, it may not be a character trait that we don't all work that way, but that's something I think that
very good point.
Used.
Yeah.
Leverage HR. Do that carefully, and then if you get to a point, this is a little bit further down the line. Manage up. So I suppose if you feel like their whole thing is insecurity, ask for their advice. or input?
I think, and you mentioned it before about you would feel concerned about going to your line manager and having those conversations. I think if you get into a room, I'm inherently believe most people have a very good side to them. Again, I could be very naive. And I think if you sit down with your boss and say, look, I'm really struggling in our relationship. I think I keep doing things wrong and not making you happy.
Yeah.
What can I do to help that? How can I work better with you so you can focus on other people rather than just me? How do I do my job so that it makes you happy and we successfully hit our targets? And if he goes, you can't, you just got to keep doing what you're doing, then you know that's irrevocably broken. You need to leave that business.
And that's when you know it's time to walk away.
If the reaction is not one of working with you and helping you, etc., and they just go, look, I keep telling you to do stuff and you're obviously stupid, you can't do it, you know that whole sentence is wrong. You need to be leaving that company.
Yeah. I was on the Insta-tweety thing, what's it called? Instagram last night. I never know what it is. I do. And there was an HR influencer type on there. And it was quite an interesting reel.
Oh, was it a good one or was it a usual sort of influencer?
Aren't we cynical today? Just hit a nerve there.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
No, I know you're not, but this was actually quite good.
Okay.
And it ended up being really simple. It went through lots of the things we're talking about today, and it was kind of directly relevant. How Instagram knew that we were doing a thing on toxic managers today, I don't know.
You know why? Because your phones are listening to you.
Yeah, my phone is listening. But it ended up with this, just get it in writing.
Yes.
In work. And it was more kind of directly related to issues at work rather than toxic management, but get it in writing. And I thought that's a pretty good way to finish today because that's really good advice.
Yeah, and in reality, if a company's having a problem with you, believe me, they're going to put it in writing.
That's exactly the point. Yeah. David McKenzie is the managing director. He is the governor. He's the gaffer at McKenzie Jones.
Nice.
Good to see you. Thank you.
you.
Appreciate it. Don't forget to like, to follow, and subscribe for more content like this from Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is The Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. Freight costs, fuel prices, and delivery timelines are back in focus, and questions are growing over how vulnerable global supply chains could become. Container freight costs are creeping up. Maritime insurance premiums are surging. Delivery timelines stretching. Carriers are hedging their risks. And for a global economy built on just-in-time logistics, prolonged friction in the Strait of Hormuz threatens a massive domino effect across retail, across manufacturing, and across the prices that we pay as consumers. Joining us with the latest on the risks, the market reaction, and hopefully what businesses and consumers should be preparing for is Abigail Matthias. She's editor at Global Supply Chain Magazine. It's good to see you, Abigail. Thanks for coming back on.
Morning, great to see you too.
Welcome to Morning Drive. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just an energy corridor. It's a hub for global container transit and multimodal logistics networks. We've spent the last few years hoping the era of severe supply chain disruptions was behind us. I guess, if I'm honest with you, Abigail, I'm hoping we're nowhere close to a rerun of the global shipping issues that we experienced during COVID.
Yes, that's a very legitimate fear to have. I think since the global pandemic and the Red Sea crisis, logistics companies have put in place certain, methods to protect themselves against shocks like this. While those things are in place, those can only reduce the shocks. They can't, unfortunately, completely eradicate them.
Can you put into perspective just how serious the threat to global trade is if tensions continue to escalate?
Well, the threat is very, very serious. We have to understand that the Strait moves roughly 20 to 30% of global seaborne oil and a major share of LNG. So any prolonged disruption immediately affects global energy security. Markets are already pricing higher risk, and several governments have warned that a full shutdown would have worldwide economic consequences. So even brief disruptions matter. There is no equivalent alternative route for most Gulf oil and LNG exports. Pipelines that bypass Hormuz, they exist, but they only can handle a fraction of the total volumes.
Can we look at some immediate market data? I mean, carriers don't wait for a crisis to fully explode before they adjust their models of pricing. They price in risk straight away. We're now just over 90 days into the crisis, 92 days I think we are. What are you seeing right now in terms of spot freight rates, emergency surcharges, or with marine insurance premiums? Who's paying the price for this continued kind of maritime anxiety?
Well, unfortunately, it's major global carriers that are facing this, the brunt of this escalation, because they have had to suspend or limit their transitions, and their transits through the Strait of Hormuz. Many of them are diverting vessels to alternative ports. It's also become incumbent of them to try to avoid the Gulf route altogether, which is not easy, and it's slowing regional trade. And it's also increasing congestion in other parts of the world.
When shipping lines do have to bypass areas where there may be additional risk, what does adding thousands of nautical miles around alternative routes do to global container capacity, but also equipment availability?
Well, the thing is that it does affect most of the supply that's moving around the world. As you just mentioned, the insurance premiums go up drastically. So that becomes an additional cost for most carriers. They also try to look at trying alternative routes. So road has become, the most popular right now to move infrastructure, to move oil and gas. And of course, that's not the most ideal situation, but it has become the only solution in these times.
When delivery timelines get delayed by just a week, it disrupts factory floors, it disrupts retail inventory levels, e-commerce distribution networks, and those are global networks. From a high-level supply chain perspective, which industries or product sectors are maybe the most acutely vulnerable to a sustained crisis in the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, I would say companies across energy, retail, and manufacturing are the ones who are having to build a larger buffer stock and expand their warehousing to avoid these shocks in supply chain. They are looking towards having something which is termed as resilience logistics, which has been put in place to kind of handle this unpredictable nature of events. So they are looking at doing various things like multi routes and planning those logistically. Using more regional warehousing has become important. So, like I said earlier, this might not eliminate the risk entirely, but it reduces the shock.
It certainly mitigates the shock, doesn't it? Have you seen any change since the conflict first escalated in, the effects?
Yes, definitely. People are more cautious about moving products along. There are higher risks involved, there are higher costs involved. I would say that Asia has faced the brunt of this the most because companies which are based largely in China, Japan, South Korea, the Indian subcontinent, they deal very, very closely with regions in the Gulf for exchange of goods and supplies. So, yes, they have faced rising costs of everything.
Beyond oil and LNG, Abigail, what major manufacturing components or, I don't know, automotive parts or electronic supply chains are most heavily reliant on transit being seamless through this specific corridor?
There is a very important aspect of logistics, which is the movement of dangerous goods, which cannot be transferred through air. So this moves by sea route. This can contain anything from chemicals to, some kind of automotive parts, like you just mentioned, and also can contain, heavy goods.
Mm.
These are the ones which are time bound and need to move on a regular basis, which have gotten affected by the crisis.
One thing I've been wondering, and I wonder if you can shed some light on this, have global corporations learned from, I mean, COVID's the obvious most recent example, but past kind of supply chain crises to build up defensive buffer stocks, or are most businesses still exposed to just-in-time inventory models?
Well, unfortunately, companies in the logistics sector are used to handling, difficult situations. So they have put buffers in place. But, like I said, certain government restrictions don't allow them to carry very large buffer stocks in place. So when it comes to that, there is a lot of handling and discussion with governments to allow them to keep more inventory than they had previously planned.
Have you seen a surge? Have you been writing about a surge in demand for air freight or sea air multimodal solutions out of hubs like Dubai as people and companies try to bypass delayed sea transit times?
Yes, for sure. While there has been an enormous amount of pressure on air cargo because of the recent events, people have also moved on to having, I'm sure you've heard of the Green Corridor.
Mm.
So that has become like a rescue point for companies in this region because it helps companies to deal with the maritime instability that is going on right now. So, over time, investment in infrastructure and customs in this green corridor has helped because things are able to move via road as well.
Do you think it could become a permanent alternative trade route for Gulf logistics?
Yes, that seems increasingly likely
Mm.
because it's an investment that on the long term basis could help companies because it's for one thing it's safe, and for many companies it's also a reliable alternative route that they can rely upon.
It's become incredibly important during the conflict in the last 3 months.
For sure it has. And it allows goods to bypass the strait entirely. So that's one thing that can reduce their costs, anxiety, and the pressure on imports and exports.
Are businesses now increasing stockpiles and regional warehousing to protect inventory and deliveries?
Yes, they are to a certain extent. They are definitely increasing inventory. Unfortunately, for places like the UAE, which already is under a lot of pressure, particularly for a city like Dubai, warehousing has faced a lot of, I'd say, a crunch on space for increasing their warehousing. So they have to do it with certain stop gaps in mind. Having said that, to deal with incidents like are going on at the moment, people have had to have more regional warehousing and have had to also plan ahead.
It's very much been a real change in tactics, hasn't it? Procurement officers or corporate logistics directors have had to get creative. They've certainly worked more than their fair share of late shifts over the last few months. What are the primary risk mitigation strategies that you're writing about in global supply chain and advising organizations to implement now so that there's a real shield for their operations if, depending on how long the crisis is prolonged?
Well, actually, because markets are so vulnerable, there is only so much that a company can do. For example, if you take the retail sector, if they can increase their warehousing and move to a lot of digital dependency, that does help them. Of course, at the same time, there is the whole backlog of companies who have been moving material but are pushed to a certain extent because they aren't flexible enough to move their products along. So we have been advising companies to look at the long term effects of great deal of shipments, and I think that has helped because looking at the larger picture is always better than just assessing your short term risks.
Should businesses be looking to immediately diversify their supplier base geographically, or is the priority right now locked on securing long-term freight contracts before rates climb even higher?
I think the obvious price rises that have been witnessed, especially around the region,
Mm.
has, of course, forced companies to rethink their strategies. So, yes, I would agree with you that they've had to kind of look at what they want to do in terms of, dealing with certain major carriers and also understanding how governments will intervene to help them with certain kind of tariffs. So yes, to a large extent, they've had to rethink their strategies.
Do you think companies are better prepared now after, it's 90 days, it's 3 months of disruption?
Yes, well, they've had to become prepared. There was a very recent seminar held by the National Association of Freight and Logistics, which dealt entirely with this whole aspect of the Strait of Hormuz and what companies in the region should do. So there were various people from shipping companies to freight forwarders to investors who were discussing what they can do and how they have been impacted. So, yes, they've all had to kind of keep a very close eye on what's going on.
Which regions or which economies, I guess, stand to lose most if oil and obviously cargo flows through the Strait of Hormuz are disrupted long term?
I think Asia is the most vulnerable at the moment
Mm.
because as a continent, we do rely on each other for a lot of trade, and the region sources a large share of crude and LNG from Gulf producers and many manufacturing hubs. From electronics to chemicals, it's not just oil. Any prolonged disruption forces countries to draw from its reserves and pay higher spot prices. So this can have a ripple effect on industries and their output.
What signals? I feel like I'm firing lots of questions at you. There's lots of things coming to mind, Abigail. So
No problem.
bear with me. What
Fire
signals?
away.
What signals should investors, freight operators, business leaders be watching most closely over the next few days? And I say days because every day we're looking at will there be some form of agreement or not?
Yes, definitely. I think the key signals are oil price volatility, war risk insurance premiums, which are going up all the time, and shipping advisories for major carriers. They should also watch out for any military escalation near shipping lanes and updates from the governments on port operations. These indicators typically move first, and they give you the early warning signs of further supply chain stress that may occur. So, those are the main signals.
If diplomatic de-escalation takes time, what is potentially the new normal benchmark for global shipping timelines and logistics costs that the industry is modeling? What are people saying to you? Really for the second half of the year.
Well, people are optimistic despite all that's going on. It's very heartwarming to see that they're hoping that the second half of the year isn't as bad as the first, and they're looking at of course, the de-escalation in tensions in the region, and also hoping that Gulf producers get a little more aid in terms of timelines to move shipments across, not just the Strait of Hormuz, like I said, but through the Green Corridor, through other places that have been built in place to move shipments around. There's been a lot of hesitancy at the start of this whole disruption, but now I think there has been a little bit more resilience from the industry. People are understanding that there's a lot of chokes in the system, and it's only going to get better in time.
Final question for you, for us everyday consumers. I feel like we're starting to see these rising logistics and fuel costs reflect on retail shelves and to an extent e-commerce delivery fees. And I guess those costs are going to start to mount.
Yes, unfortunately, I wish I had a better answer, but consumers will feel the impact very, very soon if they haven't already, because the oil markets are the first to respond to any fluctuations in markets around the world. So this impact is felt within days, if not weeks. And if you just go to see and examine, the oil markets reacted almost instantly to the Hormuz related risk. And fuel prices, they do adjust with events that happen. This has a ripple effect on everything, on chemicals, on pharmaceuticals, on daily imports and exports, unfortunately. And higher freight prices will impact the consumer one way or the other. It can be controlled to a certain level, but unfortunately, much more can't be done.
Let's just keep fingers crossed, everything crossed for a resolution soon. Abigail Mathias is editor at Global Supply Chain magazine, back with us on the program. Abigail, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tim.
Good to talk to you. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more interviews like this from Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the morning drive. Tightening one's belt in tough times. Your money now. James Thomas is back with me. He's a licensed independent financial consultant, and he is here. It's good to see you.
Likewise, good morning.
Haven't seen you for a couple of weeks.
No.
It's been, I don't know, I wondered if you were avoiding me. And then I realised it was Eid.
It was
so
Eid,
it was
that's
probably, you've been away.
Yeah, I went back to the UK, blessed with some amazing weather. Great to catch up with some family and friends.
You see, you say that, but you're blessed with the highest temperatures in recorded history or something.
Oh, in May's recorded
history without air conditioning. So
well, yeah, but it's like a Dubai
more
winter.
for you.
It was Dubai winter
Was it really?
temperatures. Yeah, it's
It was
lovely.
okay.
I found it. Yeah, it was quite amusing because the UK Brits love to talk about the weather. Because every conversation, it's so hot, and you're thinking, no, it's not. It's beautiful, but
Yeah. I love
stop
that.
complaining.
Brits love to talk about the weather, which is ironically where we are at the moment.
Yeah, well, indeed.
Time to move
Keeping
on.
up with
probably.
our stereotypes.
There were a few people that melted in the United Kingdom.
Apparently
though.
so, yes.
But they're going to be fine. They put them back together. Yeah. Look, lots of us are currently putting off larger purchases at the moment. And I wanted to talk about this with you today because I think it's something that, people I talk to, it's like, I'm going to wait for this. I was talking to Michael, who produces this show, day before yesterday, and he said, I'm not going to buy the new laptop at the moment. I'm still using my old one. I know everything's worn, all the letters are worn off the keys, but I'm not going to buy one at the moment. And it made me think that I think that's how a lot of us feel. When things are uncertain, you kind of hold off, and we're all in kind of wait and see mode. So I wondered what that means for our money, putting off larger purchases. Whenever there's, uncertainty, that kind of happens, whether it's conflict or inflation or whatever
it might be. It does generate that uncertainty, and that then leads to, hopefully, as we've always discussed, just to have that extra thought about what we're spending our money on.
Yeah, exactly right. So
turn that potential negative into what I believe is a positive.
Turn that smile, that frown upside down.
Exactly.
As they say. So I've got 7 points here I wanted to put forward to you for your thoughts. What can you do, or what should you be doing with your money at the moment? And I suppose the first one is to prioritise liquidity, having some cash aside.
Absolutely. We always say have 3 to 6 months immediately available cash.
Right.
But no harm in just adding a bit more to that, just in case.
Yeah, okay.
Just to make sure that should anything happen, you've got enough money to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, and to not have to keep
and then not have to dip into
obviously.
savings. I mean, often, and again, I'm going to curse things probably, but when you look at financial markets, they've actually been doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
Which is almost going against what you might expect to happen when there are times of uncertainty. And that, again, we haven't really got time to go into that. But why I mention it is because we don't want to have to dip into our longer term savings. So if we've got the cash in the bank, that's the place to access.
Yeah. Okay. So for banking, for travel, for employment, whatever. Disruptions might come along. The other thing, if you're prioritizing liquidity, then you should probably be doing whatever you can to reduce debt.
Always.
Reduce unnecessary
debt. And again, that ties into this. If we're thinking about whether we should spend on something, discretionary spend, but if we already have and we've got that debt on a credit card, on an unsecured loan, think about trying to get that paid off as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and avoid financing anything that...
Absolutely. So don't take any new debt either. Would be I don't know, banks would be screaming at us for saying that, but it's true. Just hold fire, bit of patience.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. There's something else in this list here that we have, and I think this is important because the headline, and don't jump up and down when I say this, but this is stock essentials rationally. And I think when the conflict first happened, there was a great deal of panic buying. And there was a lot of warning that it's really not necessary.
Absolutely. I mean, that first Sunday, I think, or that weekend, the Sunday we popped to the shops, and I did smile to myself, even though, obviously it was the beginning of this process and everyone was very spooked, clearly and understandably. But the classics, the toilet roll gone, all the
Yes.
tins of tomatoes, tins of tuna, and you think, oh, come on, people. And then, as you rightly say, I'm sure you had guests on the show from the large supermarket chains. Don't need to panic. We've got warehouses full of this stuff. We're not going to run out. Yes, supply chains may be disrupted, but we have processes. We have ways to get things here. And sure enough, here we are 4 months later.
Well, we're over 90 days in.
Over 90 days in. Maybe there's an odd thing, item, but the fundamentals that we need to carry on with our daily lives and not be made uncomfortable are on the shelves. There's nothing missing as far as I can say.
It's the difference between being prepared and
Absolutely.
panicking. And the whole point is, there was no need to panic.
No.
The reasonable preparations, though, essential medications.
Yeah, if you have a condition, make sure you've got enough medication to see you through. Again, that's just planning ahead. But I imagine a lot of those tins will end up even more, sadly, in the bin, thrown away because they go out of date before you get around to eating them. Because you've stocked up all this stuff, and yet everything you normally buy is still available. So therefore, your cupboard is just full of this stuff. And I'm sure we've done it. We go back a year later, and that's all out of date. And it's probably okay to eat, but
It's like you're reading my mind.
Yeah.
I have a cupboard with loads of tin stuff, tin tomatoes and chickpeas and all that kind of thing. And I buy them regularly. So I've got to keep the stock up. And then I'd go to the back and there's a rogue tin or two that's sort of rolled behind something. I think. Yeah.
You look at the use by date and you think, it's already a year out of date.
I think that's probably fine.
Probably fine.
Yeah.
But my point being, just, think about what you need and plan accordingly, but don't over.
Good financial discipline is the point. Okay. The fourth thing on the list here is delay non-essential major purchases. So if you are considering a luxury purchase, a new
you mentioned Michael with his
stereo
laptop
system,
or stereo or even bigger car, whatever it might be. Yeah, I mean, again, the companies won't thank us for it, but we're not, this is just thinking rationally about what you're going to do. Because should something happen and you've just taken delivery of a brand spanking new car and you've taken out finance for 3-5 years on that.
Yeah.
Then what? You're stuck. The bank is going to want that repayment regardless of whether you're even here using the vehicle or using the item. So just think a little, and there's no harm in waiting a few months. Obviously, we all hope this would all be resolved and as quickly as possible. So therefore, I would recommend just waiting until things are clearer.
Yeah, and ask yourself if you'd rather have the cash available. It takes you back to your thing when when you're online shopping, the convenience
Indeed.
thing of, I'll put that in the cart. But your thing is put that in the cart, go back to it the next day.
Yeah.
If you still think you need it, or
need is the key word.
Need is, or you really want it and you deserve it, and that's fine.
But you've just had that period of time
Thinking
rather
it through.
than click it, pop it in the cart, press go, Apple Pay, whatever Pay, Google Pay, and it's just gone.
There's only one downside to this, and I blame you.
Yeah.
And it is the fact I now have about 34 things in the cart that I'm not going to buy. It takes hours to delete them. But it is, again good financial.
You raise a good point there, though.
Yeah.
The deletion. Why is it difficult?
Actually, yeah. Well, it's just a manual job, isn't it? But it's a good point. Yeah. But good financial practice is the key to this.
Yes.
The fifth thing on the list, often the biggest financial risk during uncertainty isn't market volatility, it's income disruption. It is employment, of course. So protecting income is...
Which you could argue, how on earth do I do that? But it's the things around it, isn't it? It's building your networks, keeping your CV up to date. It's thinking, are there any other ways that I can earn some additional funds? Actually, dare I say, having a clear out. If there's some stuff around, pop it on one of these online platforms, earn a few dirhams and get rid, have a bit of a clear out.
It's maybe a good time to do that, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're, actually, that's quite good advice if you're re-examining your financial...
As I say, I'm not expecting it to earn millions of dirhams, but, it's... And then perhaps you don't feel so guilty if you do treat yourself to something else because it's been financed with some things that you've got rid of.
Okay. I feel like a grown-up talking to you today, it has to be said. Number 6, avoid having... this is just plain good old financial advice that you would espouse, I guess, at any given opportunity,
Yes.
but diversify risk. So this is not all the eggs should be in that one basket.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to have more than one employer, but often, as we've discussed, the employer's giving you share options. The employer's giving you all of your wealth from one place.
Yeah.
Well, consider spreading that around, moving into other areas. Because if your company were to find itself in financial difficulties, if the difficulties then relate to your position, then the company may well be in financial difficulties, and then the share price can be affected by that. So everything is being hit at once, and if everything is tied up in that one organisation, you're very much exposed to that. So again, just think about how you can build a more resilient strategy.
Yeah. Okay. So diversify risk would be the
Yes.
headline. There's a nice little line here actually, and it ties in well because resilient. That's resiliency. That's
Yes.
the word of the moment. Diversification is fundamentally a resilience strategy.
Yep.
And I've never thought of it that way before. But that's effectively how what it is.
It's
isn't
building that, again, as I always come back to, building that strong
Yeah.
foundation, because you're standing on one post, one pole, one pillar.
it? Yeah.
But if you can extend that to 3 to 5 to 10, if one of those, it's always the analogy of the chair. If it's got 3 legs, you lose one, it's going to fall over. If you've got the more legs you can put under that chair, the more secure it will be should one of those fail.
There you go. And also, number 7 is, and this does relate financially, of course it does, once you think it through. Financial decisions made during periods of fear are often poor ones, the knee-jerk reaction thing.
Yes.
So be careful with headlines.
Always. Don't take again, like we're talking about there, don't get your information from one source. Look elsewhere, take different points of view, consider whether that is really a reliable news source.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. That's the advice of the government, and I think there is so much information available. To be honest, too much information available.
Yes,
There's
but
too
again,
much
talking
noise.
that, there's always a good go to a government source
Yeah.
if it's something really serious, because 9 times out of 10 you look it up and you think, no, that's not quite what the headline had said.
Yeah, exactly right. The clickbait thing.
Yes.
Useful question during uncertain times is this. Does this purchase increase my security, increase my earning power, or significantly improve my quality of life? If the answer is no, postpone.
Yeah. Or certainly
Keep
give
it in the cart.
Keep it in the cart. Yes. Keep it in the bank account. Keep it somewhere that you can use.
That should be your tagline. I've realised. Just James Thomas, licensed independent financial consultant.
Keep it in the cart.
That would work, wouldn't it? I can hear the radio ads in my head. You can have that one, though. That's
Thank you.
free. Bottom line, though, what should you be thinking when it comes to your money and what you're spending and what you're not spending and what you're thinking financially?
Yeah, it's as always. It's just put you first. Put your priorities ahead of anything else, because and just to keep that cash around you. Cash is king. Here's another classic headline, but it is even more pertinent in these times of uncertainty, because it just gives you the options. You can if something were to happen, you can make you can plan immediately.
Cash is king. Keep it in the cart, right? So I can see you wheeling a supermarket trolley full of money around, and that would be your ad.
the virtual. Yeah,
But we could do it with an avatar.
we could.
Tell you the ideas are flowing. Just a reminder, stay updated via mirabusiness.fm and the WhatsApp channel, which is whatsapp.mira.fm. So that's kind of part one. Those are the 7 things that maybe are well worth considering. The second thing, what you should...
Yeah, they're more positive.
Yeah, what should you be spending your money on? Or what could and should you be spending your money on, even when times are tough? So the instinct when things are uncertain is stop
Everything.
Yeah, everything. Just don't do anything. But that doesn't necessarily make your situation any better.
No. And indeed could make it worse with some of the points on the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw a few ideas at you for where spending is a good idea. So it's either a thumbs up or it's a definite no. Here we are. First of all, your health.
Health is wealth.
Health
there you go. All the lines are out this morning. But
cash is king. Keep it in the car. Health is.
But it is true. Don't stop looking after yourself just because, if you do need a medical appointment, but even that is, we're even taking a step back. It's the ongoing health. So going to the gym, don't buy the cheapest food. Make sure you're fueling yourself properly. Again, it's perhaps a bit out there, but it's true. And you shouldn't necessarily cut those things. They're the areas that you should continue to invest in because it's yourself and your well-being. Yeah,
well, that makes sense, I think. So, I mean, it's interesting. I looked at this and I thought, he's probably going to say cancel the gym membership. But actually, no, that's not.
No, as long as you're going.
If you're not using it, different matter.
Yes.
If you've not been since January the 5th.
Exactly.
Probably time to
go
cancel
right back to when we, our January New Year's resolutions.
Yeah,
Great
exactly
idea.
right.
But if they've already long forgotten and the gym kit is getting dusty in the cupboard, then maybe not. But it's a good opportunity to reconsider and get back there.
Yeah, this is true. And it's not luxury, it's infrastructure was a line that I liked as well. Another thing not to skimp on is your skills, if you're in some form of education or thinking about some form of education. That's worth
It's always good
money.
to be expanding your knowledge.
Yeah.
If not for your current employment, but if something were to happen, a new employer is going to take very positively to see that you've been continuing your, what do we call it, the continuous professional development. Expanding your
that could
knowledge
be another
base.
tagline. That will go on there as well. We've got 4 so far. Cash is king is best.
Yeah.
But it's directly related to health, isn't it? This is investment in yourself.
Yes.
That's the point.
Which is always valuable, always well worth investing in.
Okay. Assets that pay you back. So this is the point where property or stock or maybe a side hustle, that little thing that you do aside comes in.
Yeah, always can. Again, don't stop investing. I know we mentioned markets are actually continue to rise, but if they had fallen, or did, but very briefly,
sure.
Especially if you're investing regularly, then take that opportunity to buy more at a lower price.
Get more for your money.
Get more for your money.
Yeah.
So that's where we say again, you're investing in your future, so don't stop that.
Yeah.
Side hustles, whatever that may be, absolutely. Something you perhaps you're enjoying, but it's we've mentioned, it's the more consumer, more discretionary spend. They're the things just to consider winding back on at these sorts of times.
So in consumption spending, having a meal out or gadgets, that leaves you with less money, right?
But these things should.
If you spend on assets,
will they end up
potentially leave you with more money. And that's kind of the way to look at it. Yeah. Okay, I get that. There was another line in here. The wealthy don't stop spending in downturns. They redirect their spend.
Yep.
So we could learn something from the wealthy.
Yeah. Do they stop spending? No.
They don't.
No.
No, that's the point.
Yep.
They just redirect where they spend.
Yeah.
And but again, it goes back to the absolute crucial starting point of thinking.
Yes.
Thinking it
having
through,
that
first
thought
of all.
process. Don't just, I say,
Trying
blindly.
not to fall in the trap
Yeah.
of, I really fancy that new watch.
Great example. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it is. I keep looking at this sort of particular type of watch at the moment. There's about 7 in the cart, and I think, I don't need it. I've got a watch, so I'm not going to buy it. So I did that to get brownie points from you. Your network. So this is an important thing, and this is interesting, because I hadn't really thought of this in this way, but it goes back directly to skills and education. And if if you're learning at the moment, then potentially that's a new job down the line at some point. And your network works in a very similar way, your relationships.
Because, with my job and the radio, if there's no one listening, There's no one I've got to talk to. I can be the best financial advisor on the planet, but if I haven't got any clients, any prospects to talk to,
Well, in your own mind, that's how it works.
Well, it is.
The greatest of all time. But
yes,
the clients
reality
bear out that.
Bear
don't
out
they?
that, indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is exactly the same, whatever industry that you work in. It's almost even more important in times of uncertainty to make sure people know who you are. You are out there, you're doing those coffee meetings, you're going out to the network events, even if you don't want to, the wrong time of day or whatever it might be, but that's where you're going to meet so many more people in your industry.
Yeah, I mean, if you would normally do it and you're thinking, no, I need to cut back on that, then maybe that's not something
absolutely. That would be something I
cut
would
back on.
recommend continuing to do, because if there are people who do stop, well, therefore you've got more chance to meet more people that perhaps you wouldn't normally get time to spend with.
No, that's a fair point. Quality over quantity, and I think that's such a now phrase, isn't it? Everything is available at varying levels of how long will this last.
Yep.
Buy fewer, better things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, very straightforward. And not just with physical consumer things. I mean, it's just generally think about the
It's
quality.
not just if you're buying a fridge, is
Yes.
it? I mean, it applies
exactly.
to that. Of course it does. But it could be shoes,
Yeah, whatever.
food.
Yeah, you name it. It can apply to all things that you're buying.
Yeah. Cheap decisions can become
Very
longer term,
expensive.
quite
'cause-
expensive
yeah.
decisions.
Again, another cheesy, buy cheap, buy twice. It's
That's really good. I love that. Okay. Your mental well-being. This was something I wasn't sure how you would react to this, but I think there is potentially a financial cost, and it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet, obviously, but stress and anxiety and burnout and worry impacts you and impacts your ability to perform.
my only, not negative, but it shouldn't be 6. This should be
It should have been higher up. Yeah, okay,
because, and it also links back into the your health, number one. I think because they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
And indeed, because if you're not well mentally, you're very unlikely to be well physically. So the two are intertwined. And no, that would probably get one of the biggest thumbs up. This while it's not something that can be easily recorded, as you say, on a spreadsheet, it's something that's absolutely vital to your well-being.
Yeah.
And so therefore must take priority, because of course, if we are in times of uncertainty, would often lead to the things you mentioned, the stress, the anxiety, the concern, then potential burnout because you're worried possibly about losing your job, so you're investing more time in that rather than the other things that you make up your life. And suddenly, you're on that downward spiral.
Well, it's the other things that make up your life. It's that point, isn't it? There, so it's the
Yes.
things that keep you, the things that you live for. I suppose,
Indeed.
simply put, isn't it? It's whether that's family or
Hobbies,
hobbies, your
whatever,
exercise,
yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And
Now, we
if you're
mentioned holiday, which obviously might be more difficult to travel, you're less comfortable. Therefore, the other things become ever more important to
good
make
point.
sure that you do have that time just to de-stress and to take that pressure off yourself.
And I guess if you are dealing with things and maybe you're in therapy dealing with something, then that's something that should continue
Very much
at a
so.
time like this.
Yes.
Okay. To keep everything else
Yep.
grounded. It keeps us going, doesn't it? Bottom line, in a tough economy, the worst thing you can do is treat all spending as equal. That's fair.
Very.
I think.
All I would say in any economy, but yes, especially
True.
so in a tough situation.
It's kind of heightened now, isn't
Yes.
it? So some spending shrinks your future, some spending builds it. That's quite a good
It is.
quote to take
Yep.
from this. But the trick, of course, is you have to know the difference between them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which always comes, what your point all the way through this is just thinking about it, not just blindly spending. It's having that consideration to make sure that whatever you're spending your money on, and as I always say, I don't want this to come across as you must not spend on anything except for your investments and whatever else it might be. Of course, you're allowed to enjoy what you've worked hard to earn, but it's just to take what we want is to make sure you do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not just think 5 minutes after you've bought whatever it is, oh, what did I do that for?
You're a little bit like the good guy on the right
Yeah,
shoulder.
that's
You're
what we're
like
trying to be, rather than the devil. Trying to be maybe not the angel, but
really need that? Do you want that, or do you need it?
Yeah,
Is it going to make you feel better? That's you.
that's what we're trying to do. And
Also,
that's the
my-
message we're trying to get across.
I was going to say the name of the company. You know who they are, but my e-commerce carts are full of stuff that I'm probably never going to buy. I blame you once again.
Well,
But
I'll
it's-
happily take
was-
that blame.
It's such good advice. It was.
But are you missing those items?
Well, that's exactly the point. No, you were quite right to say that. But that kind of sits with me, and that sits with me really well. I'm not a massive overspender, but there are times when I think, oh, I've just been paid, I want to buy this, and do I need it? I probably don't.
No.
So, and it's that time, that sort of space to think about what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and it's made a difference. I got to tell you. Yeah, that's the biggest compliment I'm ever going to give you.
Thank you. I'll take it.
When to spend and when not to spend in tough times. Voice of Financial Reason, as ever, James Thomas, licensed UAE-based independent financial consultant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe for more interviews like this. And all of these conversations with James are available online. All you need to do is look for Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.